what we've seen over the last 20 years is India has been a market that you buy in the bottom left, you sell in the top right, years later, you presume that FX adjusted, you've made some money. But this corporate governance transformation that has been underway explicitly in Japan and now increasingly in Korea and implicitly in China in stealth mode, we're seeing it in India as well. We saw India's largest and oldest listed hospital company last week decide that they're going to spin off their non-core hospital businesses into a new entity. We've seen a domestic pharma acquisition of Torrent Pharma, by Torrent Pharma of JB Pharma from KKR last week. Also, earlier this week, we saw the acquisition of WNS Holdings by Capgemini. So we're now seeing a lot of this value unlocking happening. The M&A is starting to pick up, which typically India is not a market for.
So what is driving this increased activity in India specifically? Because I do know in at least listed markets, right, the foreign money is mostly out.
Yes, but it's been coming back for good reason. If you look in early April, India was the first major market around the world to erase the post-Liberation Day losses. Came back pretty quickly. Now, having said that, it was starting from a lower base because it had been selling off for several months. However, in a largely domestic story where nearly 3/4 of revenues for the 200 largest companies are domestic, not foreign, and growing fast, it's a uniquely dissociated story relative to other countries. But then also what we're seeing is major shareholders, founding families now realize that we can take a large share of a small pie every year and keep it for ourselves, or we can grow the pie, take the same size, perhaps smaller, and treat minority shareholders better. And we're starting to see that happen. We engage with many companies across the market cap curve, across sectors in India, who ask us now, what are you learning from Japan? What can you teach us? How do we improve our disclosures to match what you're seeing in other parts of Asia and around the world? That has never happened before.
So what is the trend of the direction of travel? Because the deals you mentioned in India happening are some pretty big names already, right? In Japan, what's starting to happen is it's trickling down to the small, medium-sized companies, the anonymous ones that nobody really knows and for a long time never really cared about, right? And this is finally the kind of creative capitalist destruction that I think the Japanese market and economy has needed for many, many years. Is India headed the same way?
Yes, but India will do things the India way, just like China will do the China way. The traveler is different, so the paths will be a little bit different, but the destination will be the same, we think. Increased importance for minority shareholders, increased consideration for sustainability, improved disclosures, more diversity, higher dividends, shareholder buybacks. We're starting to see it all because we should start to see it all. And the Japanese regulator should take pride that this is something that they started in Asia. We're not seeing it to the same extent in the West. Asia is really at the forefront of corporate governance transformation, and it's exciting to be part of that.